Welcome to a random discussion thing. I wasn't expecting to make this, but I figured I might because I was thinking about it earlier. Can't remember when it was earlier in the week. I definitely considered it. And it's about why I jumped from one grind to another, even though I hate grinds. And I've got an interesting reason why, or two, that is. So first of all, for anyone who's not aware, I originally played Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail pretty much exclusively. There was only like one or two other games in between this game and a T-Roll Galactic, and also Rocksmith occasionally, and maybe the old variety game. But most of the time I didn't get time to play those because if anyone who's aware of Hoyoverse games and how they're designed, they take up a lot of your time, and it could even be argued that it takes up a bit more than even something like T-Roll Galactic, which already takes a while, but it's fine. Also, like compared to like some even grindier games I've not even touched, like why the hell would I go from Hoyoverse games to Final Fantasy XIV? And I've got fairly good answers for it. But yeah, like back on Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, I've been experiencing burnout for years with those games, and this was primarily due to the reason that they add so much to the game that you have to sort of rush it out as quick as possible and then finish it. And that creates issues, as you might expect. And no, it wasn't for the reasons that, for some reason, I don't know what one brain cell community seems to think, which is like a lack of content. It's because there's so much content and the monetization is terrible. And I've always known that. And really, the nail in the coffin for it was the global passives introduced into Honkai Star Rail, which, other than there already being massive pay to win, this is more like pay to play. And I didn't realise the term for it until now, actually. But global passives are literally pay to play because they change your game so much that it's not even pay to win. It's just that it becomes crucial to have that. And I haven't been in the loop of the game since they announced Casters, who introduced the first global passive. So maybe this has aged poorly, but even then, it's not well designed. You know, I saw some videos about how the turn-based system of that game is essentially really bad because it's not a true turn-based style game. And like the problems as well with like artifacts and relics, which you have to farm for stats and increase the numbers and do the end game so you can get some currency. And there's even like grinds like Mora and leveling and stuff, like everything had a grind tied to it. It's one of those where you can either pay for the solution, which nobody does, or you can grind out manually and just hope for the best, really. And that's what I ended up doing in the end, and then, yeah, it just burnt me out. You know, in Honkai Star Rail I wasn't struggling, but like, Genshin Impact, like, holy shit, I was struggling. Like, every single time a character came out, it's often a very good character, like, quite game breaking. You know, Mariko and Zidane, I remember being great, but to grind out the resources for them took days upon days, like weeks possibly, and you have to do like spend like this in-game currency called resin, which replenished like every day for a certain amount, which always sucked. And yeah, it just became problematic, as you might expect. That sort of burnt me out, and even though I was enjoying myself at the time of quitting, there was something else that bothered me, and that was a realisation that I shouldn't be playing it, essentially. You might be wondering, like, okay, But why? That just sounds stupid. And it probably is. But my realisation was I'm not setting a good example not only for other people but myself personally by having a game like this, because even though sort of my happiness sort of relied on it to an extent, it became problematic in the sense that I logged in daily, I waited for updates and looked forward to it even. But I was also feeling FOMO, and it was in the sense that events that come and go, you would never get to experience again once they disappear. And that was always shitty to me. So, really, that didn't help the situation. On top of being extremely shitty, they've never addressed things properly. Like, I realised that the game didn't feel like a game, it felt like, as you can tell, like a grind, but even then, a grind has to be good, it has to be enjoyable. In Genshin Impact it was a chore. But compared to like the game I'm playing now, Final Fantasy XIV, it feels more enjoyable. To bind things, you have more buttons to do, which admittedly can be annoying. Even then, you've got ways to increase yield. You can even mine specific things, and you've got a fucking log to track it. In Genshin Impact, you don't really have something like that, and you don't really have that sort of grind in Honkai Star Rail either. So the inconsistencies in the game did not help it at all. So, yeah, fuck it. I just can't be bothered now, and I remember logging in that day and thinking really hard, am I going to give up or not? It was on April 1st, which sounds odd, but that was actually the day I considered it because I was having a rough day. And the realisation was I have better, bigger things to do. And yeah, that turned out to be right. So I uninstalled the games and off I went to Final Fantasy XIV, which turned out great. It turned out to be a good choice for the most part. But one of the other things that really made me quit Genshin Impact, because leading by example again, is the gacha. Now, I don't really like games that lock classes for any reason at all, or lock characters even. But Hoyoverse games are doing that consistently. Like when Zone and Zone Zero come out, I checked, is this a gacha? And it was. So I'm like, okay. Well, full time's a shitter, so yeah, I think it will always be shit. So I never touched it, because I knew I'd go through the team burnout. And also the same sort of, I guess you could call it trauma, or the worry, and the FOMO even. But the same FOMO that I was having with the other games. So yeah, that's massively problematic. Holy shit. I'm not going to touch those. No way. So I never did, thankfully. So, trying to think, was there anything else in between? So I literally just went cold turkey on it, essentially. I quit the game and yeah, I'm on Final Fantasy XIV now and I don't regret it, and there's various reasons why I see myself sticking to it. Even with some of the shitty moments it does have itself. It does respect my time, and I've already gone into details on the various good things about it anyway. There's another video somewhere, I can't remember what it's called. It just feels far better. More respectful time and money for that matter. Microtransactions optional, they don't impact gameplay that much anyway. The most it'll do I think is leveling and server stuff, but even then it's not as bad as Genshin Impact or Honkai Star Rail. But I think they are peak bad game design. Just because of the fact they lock characters. In Final Fantasy XIV, however, you can pick any class you want, any job, and have it all on one character. no faffing around with making alts like I did in World of Warcraft, which was also shit. Also FOMO as well, I think. But there's also so much you can do in the game. Like there's endless amounts of content. And even if you think you've done it all, there's probably another thing out there. And I think the people who, for some reason, make alts in this game, which I experienced today, sadly, and was a very nice guy. I think those people are very tunnel visioned. And I've noticed this with Genshin Impact because like the community only ever said there's a lack of content in these games, and then I was just sitting there saying, well, don't you realise that there's other games, like ones that are cheap, you can play and like get tons of unlimited gameplay in it or fun, whatever. Like Deep Rock Galactic, I think it's still what £10 or something. Even then, if it was like £25, you get way more than you ever expected, and that's due to the nature of it having so much content. It's not necessarily content in the fact that the gameplay is different. It's just that you've got things to do. Collect overclocks, collect cosmetics. There's a battle pass, which isn't premium by the way, and you can visit it any time you want. It's really good. And it's become one of my favourite games over the years because it just respects my time, and it isn't locking me out of things just because, well, they have a monetization model, they have a quota or whatever. Just making them fun now. So again, like Final Fantasy XIV feels more respectful of my time than any of the other games have. And again, I see myself playing it for a lot longer than I initially intended. So yeah, the best way I can describe Final Fantasy XIV is it's more complete. Because, Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, they're all ongoing stories. And so is Final Fantasy XIV. But then the gameplay aspect sort of comes in and you realise, oh, well, okay, there seems to be like a massive difference between them. Because you don't really have exploration stuff in Final Fantasy XIV unless you actually seek it as like sightseeing and gathering and stuff. But even then, it's not even a primary objective. Where in Genshin Impact, you're literally coerced into exploring, and same with Honkai Star Rail. And you had to do those to get the characters that you wanted. And it's just another shitty way to keep you engaged, and that's one of the problems. In Final Fantasy XIV, if you ever wanted to, you could cancel your subscription, go play another game, and have fun there, take a break. Well, one of the best things about it, from what I know anyway, there's not as much FOMO as other games like World of Warcraft, so you're not penalised for not being there for the content. You can do it whenever you want. If you wanted to do an old abandoned raid like Coral of Bahama, look it up, by the way. It's not in the raid rotation, but apparently it's a very difficult raid, and you can do it synced, which means you can do it as if it was back when it first released in 2012. And that's like a huge thing. And even though Genshin Impact did a good job of making you revisit old areas, and I think Honkai Star Rail did too, that was limited to events. It wasn't a permanent gameplay thing. So you still had FOMO in that aspect. If you missed an event, you missed it forever. And there is a bit of that in Final Fantasy XIV, but holy shit, it's not this bad. Because apparently the events do re-roll, but in a different way. So it's not like the end of it really. It just means it's going to come back in a different form. Apparently. Quote the players on that because this didn't come from me. They literally told me that. Because I was looking to get the Regalia Type G vehicle. And I was told that the event will re-roll, so there's no FOMO technically. But again, quote them, not me. So if it doesn't come back, it's on them. Yeah, like, holy crap. I don't know what else there is to say, really. It's just interesting looking at this and just realising how bad the situation was for a game like Hoyoverse games. Yeah, that's like why I'm on one grind to another. You know, in Final Fantasy XIV, I've got a routine in a sense. I've even written it down at the moment, even though I'm still going for the main story. I've got endless things to do, dailies to do, provisions, and hopefully extra guardian restoration. Treasure map allowance, which I could sell for gil, which I can then use to buy mounts and other things. You also get gil from most activities anyway. Then I've got society quests, where it's basically a daily grind, but for some reason it's limited. I don't know why they did that. But anyway, over time you can get a mount from that, and that's one of the dailies actually. I think there's anything else there. But there is sometimes duty relay. I'll write that down because you can get good stuff like that. Like you can give up characters with that. You've got catch up gear. Like there's tons of things with that, and it's amazing. Like how that shit is well thought out. And when I found out you could get poetics gear, it's like, wow, I can't believe that. Like that's pretty generous. Even if you have to work for it, it's still good. As for weeklies, there's like the Blue Mage weekly stuff, like Last Carnival, and well, there is a log and stuff. There's like weekly targets, but I might stop those because I had a terrible day today with that. On Dungeon and Alt account someone had for Blue Mage decided to start guarding everyone, which is fine, I don't mind that. But then there came a situation where they didn't have the other two weeklies, like, I don't think so, but there was another player who possibly didn't have it either, so it's like, okay, I'm not sure what to do here, and I just sort of panicked and went quiet, and then the guy who was on the alt just quoted the other Blue Mage saying that it might be me, and that caused the Blue Mage to leave. So at that point I was like, okay, you're kind of an asshole, dude. Like, you made this other guy leave without knowing it's them, and yeah. So I just disbanded the party and I said bye and then disbanded. It's just not worth it, but even then, it's rare to get moments like that, luckily. I'm just going to wait until something else comes along, like someone else makes them. I'm not going to do it anymore. It's impossible. But other than that, there's also the hunt boards, which give you a special currency which you can use for free transportation, which you do have to pay for some reason early in the game anyway, but you can get them early anyway, so you never have to pay for transportation again. And then there's Wanderer's Tales, which is like a sort of endgamey thing where you grind out some old content. You could do it synced or not, and you have the chance to get essentially a currency or something you can buy with. You can buy them out with, but it's a 1% chance or less. It's fucking stupid, but there you go. They should have added like 2 more tiles to that, in my opinion. Yeah, that's weeklies. And then in between, like when I'm trying to do things like normally, either progressing the main story quests or doing like side stuff like class jobs, jobs, class jobs. No, class side quests. They have like there's class quests basically, and job quests, and they progress like the abilities and also give you some story at the same time. They're pretty important as well. And then there's like gathering and leveling that as well. And then I do like the unlocks, like duties, which are like the dungeon content. But also like Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail don't have anything like that. you have domains, but it's like not the same thing. It's pretty crappy in comparison. And then I've got a whole list of like things to collect, like mounts and I think minions. I have one. No, I don't. There's also like glamour, which is like transport from World of Warcraft. It's just tons. And then I've also got to do like all these random side quests. I don't have to, but I want to. That's probably better for leveling as well. I'll do that when I do my all DPS run. But it's like so much content, and you compare that to Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail. Like, sure, they're not the same, but given like even up like something like Stormblood or Shadowbringers, like 8 years of game development since they're only born anyway. That's a lot of content, and it's far more than what Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail have. So it's like better value for money at the end of the day. Not necessarily money per hour, but money per enjoyment, and that's how I measure things usually. Yeah, that's I'm actually going to edit the video for this, no point. But yeah, like that's literally one grind from another and why I do it. And I think it's important to sort of make something like this because I think people will fail to understand or even try to find like contradictions, which I don't think there are any. I've been pretty consistent on my stance anyway. It's like there are things I enjoy doing and things I don't enjoy doing, and Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail became things I disliked. So, like that's a big factor in this. Whereas in Final Fantasy XIV, I can enjoy myself. I can also be free and customise and stuff. Well, that's the other big thing. Like, again, like things are locked out for you. Like everything is pretty much unlockable in Final Fantasy XIV. In Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, there's often like different steps towards it. And there is some in like Final Fantasy XIV with like niche things like harder difficulties. In Genshin Impact, you have to wait until you've got a character or grind out resources. And it's like, oh, okay, fuck me, I guess. And then FOMO kicks in. Final Fantasy XIV, for comparison, if you're even like 12 years late to an expansion, which I am in this case, like around Reborn, you can still grind it out. You can still play it as it is back then, and still do actually because of Duty Roulette, sometimes including it. They see dungeons. Again, it's like so well thought out, and that's why I made the jump. It's a no-brainer, really. I think that's all I've got to say about this. I think people found it interesting. It's not my usual sort of thing. I just think it's sort of important. So yeah, thanks for watching. See people another time.